Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal Thursday, or if you're out there in Australia tuning in, Friday. So with that being said, though, I've got a very special guest to kick off today's show. He's a man that holds a 17-2 record with 16 KOs. He's going to be upcoming. He's going to be headlining a massive card going down in Australia, and that is none other than Jake Wyllie. Jake, I appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, Zach.
Absolutely. Now, I know we've been going back and forth. We finally get to have you on here. It's perfect timing because I just said you've got a big upcoming fight. August 23rd, Eddie Hearn's hold true to his word, and you're going to be headlining a good card out there in Australia. Take us through just what's going through your mind right now with this big opportunity now.
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, this is a massive fight. So I've been focused on this. This is a fight that I really wanted. So, we're here now, and Eddie Hearn stayed true to his word. So, I'm ready to put on a great show.
All right, so I want to backtrack so that people that may not be familiar with the situation kind of understand what's going on when we talk about the Eddie Hearn aspect. And that is, we go back to a few months ago out there in March, and you're fighting George Kambosos. Now, that was not a scheduled thing. That was not something that was expected. You come in on short notice, and you put up one heck of a fight. I mean, you really did give George Kambosos everything you could handle, especially for someone coming on short notice. So I want to ask about that fight. When you get this opportunity to fight a guy like George Kambosos, and you're on short notice, though, what's going through your mind when you get that call?
I didn't hesitate at all.
Yeah.
This is what fighters dream of. And when I got that call, it was just a straight yes for me.
Okay. You know, it's interesting because I feel like it's such a critical thing that those that want to be great have to have nature about them. They have to be almost like the quote says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that was a situation for yourself. You were ready to go in there and put on one heck of a fight that day. When you talk about this, you get this opportunity, and in a very short time span, you're fighting George Kambosos, and you know what that could do for yourself going forward. How exciting just was that for yourself?
Yeah, it was very exciting. It sort of fast-tracked my career. And the last 2 years, I've stayed ready, just waiting for a fight, not to think that I was ever going to be fighting George. But yeah, I mean, I was fit and I was ready, and I had everything to gain, nothing to lose. And, I went down to win that fight and just fell short of it.
Okay, so I want to go into that night, though, and I feel like we see this so often in boxing. You know, there's a situation where you get a fighter that goes in there, and obviously it might be the underdog, whatever it might be, but you have a chance to make a lot of fans by putting on a show, going to war, challenging the guy. You did exactly that. We've seen some of the guys, Ramon Cardenas against Ennis, the guy that comes to mind too this year, where you kind of change your life. Even though you added a loss to your record, you still come out and you win from the night. You become a much bigger name. You have much greater opportunities. When you talk about that, what about you kind of was like, okay, I got this loss now, but I see the opportunity that's now flourishing because of that?
Take it with both hands and run.
Mm,
It's a moment in my career that I'll never forget,
right.
and gave me this opportunity and has led me to headline this show in Australia.
When you're going through the fight, you know, like I said, you've put on such a great performance that night. When you're just thinking about, do you think, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I guess when you're going through that fight, do you realize that you're doing very well? Like, what's going through your mind as you're going throughout this fight, and you're proving so many people wrong at home that's watching it, whether it be TV or in the stadium?
Yeah, like I said, as soon as I took this fight, I was going down to win,
Mm.
and I believe that I had it in me to beat him. But just a few things. The excitement to be able to get over the line to these fellas, and yeah, here we are now.
Let's say you had a full training camp to get ready for George Kambosos. Does that fight go differently?
I believe so. I
Oh,
feel even if I had 2 weeks notice, I
mm,
could have worked on some things that he's probably not the strongest at,
right.
and I would have loved that time to be able to really dedicate myself to it and fix those flaws up.
Is there any chance that fight ever happens again? I know he's coming off a loss against Hitchens. Some people wonder if he's going to fight again. There's still a lot of things up in the air. But would you personally want that rematch one day?
Yeah, if I ever got the opportunity to, I
Hmm.
definitely would.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people have got to take away from George Kambosos with what he did for Australian boxing. That fight over Teofimo Lopez was a huge upset.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was as big as Mike Tyson um, losing to Buster Douglas. So yeah, to for him to do that and then go on and do what he did was huge.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know, and obviously I'm not in Australia, but I can speak for at least on America's standpoint. A lot of people do give a lot of hate towards George Kambosos. I know he likes to run his mouth a lot, and so there's things you could obviously properly kind of look at him in that aspect. But what he's done in terms of the generating the popularity of boxing in Australia has been huge, as you talked about. When you kind of talk about his era and what he's brought to Australian boxing, how big has he been?
Yeah, huge. I was a fan of. I am still a fan of George Kambosos.
Hmm.
I went to the first Haney fight, um, and then for the fight that I ended up fighting him in, I was going down for that one as well,
Okay.
and just happened to be that I fought him.
When you talk about the state of Australian boxing, I personally look at it, I feel like it's in a good place. You guys have a lot of great talent, whether that be current guys. Obviously, I know the Tim Tszyu loss, Kimbo, some things are kind of aging out in that aspect, but there's a lot of good young guys up and coming too. Do you feel like it's in a good place? Do you feel like Australia boxing has a bright future where it's at right now?
Yeah, very bright. We've
Hmm.
you know, very thankful for Eddie Hearn. He's
Right.
made an investment in Australian boxing. He's got like Sky Nicholson,
Right.
Tara Moana, hopefully myself soon. So
Hmm.
yeah, we're in a great place. We got No Limit doing great things. We've got Matchroom out here now. So yeah, it's looking very bright. And for all these people coming up, yeah, the future's looking good.
All right. So after the George Kambosos fight, you fast forward a little bit. 1 month later, you're back in the ring again. You have a round one KO that night. Walk us through that. Why did you decide to still stay true and go out there and have another fight after the Kambosos one?
Mate, I'm a fighter,
Hmm.
so whatever fight gets put forward to me, doesn't matter who it is, where it is, I'm gonna take it.
All right.
And you know, for that one, it was a fight that came up, and I wasn't gonna say no to it.
When you talk about the situation after the Kambosos fight, the reason we talked about before is that Eddie Hearn came out and said, "Hey, we're going to give you an opportunity. We're going to sign you. We're going to do these different things." We didn't know if it was going to happen yet. Obviously, we know it now came true. So I want to know about the backstory, the business side of this. After he said those words on TV, we all saw it. How long did it take until you guys finally sat down, talked about a deal, and finally negotiated and agreed upon this August 23rd date?
Oh, look, he didn't talk directly to me. He spoke
Okay.
with my manager, Steve, and he always kept in contact with Steve. And it was just organising a date. And here we are, August 23,
Hmm.
against a great fighter here in Australia,
Yep.
Yui Dib. Um, so, yeah.
All right, let's get into this fight. Yui Dib, 21-3, good fighter, yourself as well. When you top of this opportunity that you have, what is the statement that you want to make on August 23rd?
The statement I want to make is I want to go out there and do a job on him, get him out of there. Because I want people to know that the fight with George was a one-off opportunity, and
Mhm.
yeah, I put up a great fight, but I still lost it, and I want to prove that I'm better than that, and I'm built for the big stage.
All right, so what's your prediction then? What do you see happening when you get in the ring against Yui Dib on August 23rd?
Look, I think he's going to be moving a lot. I've already fought one of their boys before, so
Hmm.
I don't want to let too much out of the bag, but I'm willing to set the pace and take him into deep waters and drown him.
Okay. I am questioning, I'm wondering about one other aspect. You're going to be moving down to 135, if I'm not mistaken, for this fight. It's going to be the very first time since 2021 for yourself. Why did you want to make this decision?
So this fight's still at 140.
Okay.
It's yeah, 63.5 kg,
Right.
and I'm happy for that. But definitely after this one, I'm coming down to 135.
Okay, gotcha. That must have been the story I was reading about then. So I want to ask about that then. Why is that the decision you're making? Why do you feel like, moving down to 135, lightweight division, why is that the weight class you want to go down to?
Well, mate, just naturally over the last 2 years, I've been training the right way and changing my diet a bit, and
Okay.
I'm just naturally coming down. So, I think to give myself the best shot at the top stage is to get down to 135.
All right, so that's an interesting thing then. Let's say you come out, you win the fight on August 23rd, you move to 18-2, now you're moving down to lightweight, a very hot division, especially out here in America. There's lots of big names. You could consider it the money division of boxing right now with so many great names there. What would you want then? Like, let's say, obviously, I know you don't want to look past your upcoming opponent, but is there a route that you have set for yourself in terms of fighting big fights? Is there something that you would want to fight at 135?
Yeah, most definitely. I'd love to fight Joshua Padley,
Mm,
wherever it may be, maybe England. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to get that fight. Um, but I'm not looking past Huey Dib either. He's going to be a tough fight.
right.
I'm ready for the rounds, and I'm ready to prove to the world I'm ready for the big stage.
You just said something else that was interesting that you'd be willing to go out there and find England, whatever it might be for Josh Padley, if that were to be the case. Is that something that you see now? Now that you've reached a certain point in your career, do you feel like you're ready to start traveling, whether that be, to England, that be to London, whatever it is over there, coming over to America? Is that something that you're ready to start making those big jumps now?
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
want the big jumps. I want the big fights, and I feel like I'm at my best when I'm in those situations.
Right.
And I like the big atmosphere and the people and the crowd, and I thrive on that. And what none better to go into someone's backyard and do it.
Mm. So you like playing that villain role almost then?
Yeah, most definitely. I love getting thrown in the deep end and getting a good challenge out of it.
I love it. All right. So, Jake, you're 25 years old. You're very young still. You've got a very bright future ahead of yourself. So, I want to ask you this. I know, like I said, you're going to go step by step, but if you were to look at an out large blueprint for yourself over the next year, year and a half, which would put you right around heading into 2027, where do you see yourself, what do you see yourself accomplishing, getting done, achieving over that time span?
Well, it starts here. I think get through Huey Dib, August
Right.
23, get down to 135, and I want to fight Joshua Padley and get a win over him, and whatever comes forward to me then, I'll take it. So I'm ready to get out and travel and put myself out there and get these big fights.
I love it. All right, so Jake, I want people to get to know your story a little bit more because all of a sudden, you just kind of came right onto the stage, and now people all of a sudden have this bright light upon you. People know who you are because the Cambosis find those things. But I want people to know how you become the Jake Wyllie that you are today. So we head back. You're from Australia, and I want to ask you: has boxing always been something a part of your life? Has this always been something that you wanted to pursue, or did this come on later on in life?
It came on actually, funnily enough, at a school. So I'm from a small country town, Warwick, Queensland, Australia, and we had a fella come up to the school and just do a little bit of boxing, and I've got a twin brother, and he was the one that wanted to start boxing, and yeah, we asked Dad if we could get down to the boxing gym, and I never looked back since. And I was playing rugby league at the time, and it got to the weekends. It's like, oh, do I play rugby league or do I do boxing?
Mm.
And I decided to stick with boxing.
Why is that the decision you made? What about boxing was so appealing to yourself?
I love the sense of it's only you in the ring, and the training you do to get there, and then the win on top's just another cherry.
Mm. All right, so as you were making this decision, all of a sudden you said, okay, boxing's my life. I'm going to go all in on this sport. Did you know immediately at that point in time that you're going to be a man that would one day be fighting on a matchroom card, a man at 17-2 in your career, 16 KOs? Did you expect yourself to be this successful? Have you underachieved, or what were your expectations at that point in life?
Well, again, I think I've watched a lot of videos and old time greats, and I always envisioned myself being a world champion. So
Mm,
once I got that into my head, I'll just head down, bum up, and just working hard to get there.
all right. When would you say it clicked for yourself and you started realizing, kind of in a sense, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and realizing, you know what? I feel like it's now all coming together. I'm ready to make this jump. I know that I have a chance to be somebody very, very special.
End of my amateur career, I had a
Mm,
more of a pro style, and I
yeah.
had envisioned in myself that I'd be fighting for world titles And in 2017, Jeff Horn fought Manny Pacquiao at Suncorp Stadium here in Brisbane.
Right.
And that gave me a real opener to one day sell Suncorp Stadium out. And I turned pro at the start of 2020. And, I've been on the road ever since.
All right. Well, you make that jump from amateur to pro career. As you said, you always have kind of had that pro style in terms of your career and the way you fight. So, would you say the transition was easy for yourself? Was it a little bit difficult, or how did that transition from amateur to pros go for yourself?
Well, I think the amateur experience definitely helped me in the pros,
Hmm.
um, especially with dealing with nerves and different places and different people, different countries, even. Um, and I've just taken that into the pros now, so I feel comfortable. As soon as I get in the ring, I feel at home and I'm in the zone and I'm ready to go.
All right. As you go into this career, I want to ask you about a fight. You end up having your very first career loss, third round KO in that fight. I want to ask about this because you start off with a great run to start your career, and then that curveball happens for yourself. How did you react to that, and how did you adjust and kind of bounce back from that loss?
Um, I look back on the loss now. Um, Vesia Saka, it was at the Gold Coast, and I just got caught and couldn't recover. And at the time, my coach and manager thought it was the right decision and threw the towel in. But it was a blessing in disguise because I was in the gym Monday, which is 2 days after that loss, and I went on, I think, to have like 7 or 8 knockouts after that.
Right.
So yeah, it was just a bump in the road, but I'm glad that it happened. I
I
think I
love that.
needed it.
I love that mindset. So many people in boxing as a whole, I know, is that with the Floyd Mayweather era, that O has become such an over talked about thing. Obviously, if you're fighting the best, and you somehow keep that O, you're one of the all time greats, which is what Floyd Mayweather is. But not everybody's going to be Floyd, and you can have losses in your career, and that's fine. Many of the greats have had many, many losses in their lives, but it's
Mm.
had this massive stigma. So I want to ask about the mental side of that. When you look back at that, all of a sudden you have this one loss. You can never remove that from your resume. Was that tough to digest for yourself? Was it easy, or how did you overcome that aspect?
It was tough in the sense of I hate losing, and my biggest fear is losing. So
Hmm.
for me to make a decision for it not to happen again, which it has with George,
Right.
I just train harder and more focused and more dedicated than what I can possibly be.
Mm.
And I think it just shows character as well. Like you can't
Yeah.
have one loss and be, oh, I'm no good. I can't do this sport. It's all too hard. You got to get back on it and try harder.
Mm. Has the way you adjusted to your second loss, and I think the George Kambosos one, in my opinion, now correct me if I'm wrong, it probably was a little bit easier. Obviously, you're short term going up against a guy like George Kambosos, but would you say the transition and the adjustment in terms of realizing the loss, handling the loss, was that easier the second time around or the first time?
It was easier handling it the second time
Hmm.
against George. But again, at the end of the day, I didn't like it either.
Fair enough.
But he won that fight, fair and square. There was levels to it, and just proved to me where I need to be and what I need to do to get there.
Hmm. All right, now I also want to ask about this. For some guys, their way they build themselves up is very, very long. They're fighting guys that slowly work themselves up. Your fourth fight, Matt Powell for the Australian National Boxing Federation, Queensland Super Lightweight Belt. Fifth fight, Dana Coolwell, Australian National Boxing Federation, Australian Light Belt. You're getting like right into it, these top guys. These guys have had great careers. Why was that the approach you took? Why did you want to just pretty much jump right out the gate and go right to big fights?
Um, you go hard or go home. It's there's you want to get to the top, so you can't just fight the people next door. You got to get out and put yourself in with tough fights. And
Hmm.
I think self belief comes in a lot. If you train hard and work hard, you should have no fear in getting in there and getting the job done.
When you look back on your career to this point, still very young, but when you look back on it, what has been your favorite fight so far?
My favorite fight, I'd have to say George Kambosos. That
Really?
was
Okay.
a fight I'd never forget. Even with the loss, it was
Hmm.
just it was a fight that you know, I could have been fighting Richard Hitchison if I'd won that. Um,
Right.
and I just fell short. But this is why I want a good statement in my next one,
Right.
and prove to the world that I'm ready for it.
Absolutely. Now, I'm also interested in asking you this question too, Jake, and that is, as I said, you're 25 years old. Overall, you've had a very successful career to this point. Would you say that it's gone as planned? Has it been better, worse, or how would you view your career to this point in time?
Very good. I had to make a big decision at the end of 2021,
Mhm.
and that was to move away from my hometown, Warwick, which I grew up in, and I came to Brisbane. And now I'm under Steve Deller and Luke Meldon.
Mhm.
So that was a big change for me, but definitely the right one. And I'm not going anywhere now. With those two men, Steve and Luke, with the experience I've had over the years, you won't get too much more experience between those two men in Australia, if not the world. So
Right.
I'm forever grateful for them, and I'll just keep working hard and training hard and get these fights out of the way.
I want to ask you about why you made that decision to make that transition there, because for some guys, and we see it for a lot of fighters, they'll move away from home, separate from everything else, kind of really dial in on their careers. You made a very similar choice there. Why is that the choice you made?
Because I knew at the time I needed someone to take me to the next level.
Hmm.
And for me, I couldn't do that where I was. The coach I had as an amateur was a great coach. He's a great man, but couldn't get me to the next level. So it was about making that move to where I could get to where I wanted to get to. And Steve and Luke are the two men to do that.
All right. Well, it kind of gets us into present day time. I know we already talked about your upcoming fight, but I want to ask you a couple more questions in regards to that. One of which is this. I know you still are about, what, now 23 days out from that, 22 days out from the fight. When you look at it from that standpoint, you still have a couple more weeks of practicing, getting ready in training camp. Do you feel like this is going to be the best version of Jake Wyllie that we've ever seen?
Yeah, most definitely.
Hmm.
But in saying that, I stay fit and ready all the time. So
Right.
on the night, I'll just deal with whatever I've got in front of me and adapt to any situation that I have to.
Why is that the approach you take? Because so many boxers out there, they'll go prepare themselves for a big fight and then they'll blow up and take a long time to get back into the ring. For yourself, and it's evident in the George Kambosos situation that you always do stay ready. Why is that the approach you've taken?
Because your biggest opportunity is only a phone call away. And that's what
Mm.
happened with George. I always kept in the back of my mind that these things can happen and you're the next one in. And that's sort of the approach I've had the last 18 months. And it happened. And here I am now.
All right. This also goes back to the Australia question at large that I asked you in the beginning, and that is looking at the future. Yourself can very well be included in this list, but I want to ask you this. When you talk about the top five up and coming young Australian fighters, that has to be 25 years of age or younger, so that obviously fits yourself in that group. Who would you say are the top five guys?
Oh, we got heaps at the moment. We got Justice Sooney.
Right.
Um, we've got Connor Wallace. He's over 25, but he's doing great things. We've got a lot of fighters here in Australia doing big things.
Absolutely. Well, I've got a couple questions before I let you go, Jake. One of which is this. When you do talk about the fact of you going down to 135, is that something that you see yourself staying there for a very long time? I know you're 25, your body still be growing and changing and stuff like that, but how long do you feel like you will be at 135 before you possibly make that move back to 140 in the future?
I'm not sure. I'll have to get there first and
Right.
assess it. I think I can hold it. I'm walking around light now, so to get down to 135, I'll be feeling ready to go there as well. And
Okay.
be there for as long as it takes. I want to win a world title there. And if it means I go up in the future, I'll go up. But
All
at
right.
the moment, I'm willing to go down.
Sounds good. Well, Jake, I have one final question for you. It's the question that I like wrapping up every single interview with, and that is talking about your legacy. One day, I know it's a long way down the road, but one day you'll step away from boxing. When that day does come, what do you want to be remembered for what you have accomplished both inside and outside of the ring?
I want to bring back a bit of the old school.
Mm,
Again, that stems from taking fights when they're put in front of you, staying fit and ready all the time. and never shying away from any fight and always giving it your best shot.
I love that. Well, Jake, I appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man. It's been a blessing and honor having you on the show, and best of luck on August 23rd.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Zach.
Of course, you're always welcome on, Jake. God bless.
Thank you very much. Cheers,
See you,
mate.
man.
See ya.
I appreciate you guys all for tuning into that interview. I'll have that clipped up, edited out, and then posted on my YouTube channel very shortly after I get done with the show right now. I'm going to go on a short break, and then I'll get right back into and address some boxing news. But if you guys do have any comments or questions or topics that you guys want me to talk about in today's show, leave it in the chat. When I get back from the break, I'll answer those right after that. So I'll see you guys very shortly. God bless you guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal Thursday. With that being said, though, as I hop in transition into this, boxing topics and breaking news segment, I want to make sure I point this out. If there are any comments or things you guys want me to discuss on today's show, leave it in the chat, and I'll make sure to address that as we go throughout today's show. Let's get right to it, though. I remember last week I talked about the fact that I would gain a lot of respect for Jake Paul if he were to actually go step foot in the ring with Anthony Joshua. Now, that's not all I'm calling him to. I just really want to see him go fight a cruiserweight that's ranked in the top 15, or even somebody in the cruiserweight that's not retired or older. But for him, he's now considering Anthony Joshua quite seriously. In fact, here's a report. Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is in active talks, and the fight is a realistic possibility, according to Paul's MVP co-founder and CEO, Nakisa Bidarin. Very interesting. Very interesting all around. I get it from Anthony Joshua's standpoint. It's going to be an easy KO, and you get a large sum of money. So that's not too baffling in my opinion. But here's what's really interesting, though. Jake Paul could actually fight Anthony Joshua. Now, as I said, I'm just looking for Jake Paul to go step foot in the ring with a cruiserweight. He is all about his money, but still, Anthony Joshua was quite the step up. We just fought Mike Tyson a year ago, and you fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. just a couple weeks ago now. And you're going to make the big jump up to go possibly go out there and fight Anthony Joshua? I mean, I don't know how people would view that. And I get there's a lot of people out there still going to hate on Jake Paul. But if you don't respect that about Jake Paul, that would be baffling to myself. Because him stepping foot in the ring with a heavyweight like Anthony Joshua would be extremely impressive and would certainly earn my respect. Former IBF super lightweight champion Liam Paro has announced that he's moving up in weight to the stacked welterweight division. Paro also called for a fight against Manny Pacquiao. Now, he's also decided to decline and not accept the eliminator versus Lindolfo Delgado. All right, very interesting move. When Liam Paro lost his belt to Subriel Matias, other way around. When Liam Paro lost his belt to Richardson Hitchens, my apologies on that one again, the belief was, okay, he's going to rebound, find his groove again, and then decide what he's going to do. He decides to go out there and fight at 135. Now he's going to go at 140 again, and now he's moving up to 147. I would have expected that he would have just went right to 147 instead. So a little bit interesting on the business side of things. However, what's interesting about this is that he wants Manny Pacquiao. I don't think Liam Paro will get Manny Pacquiao because I think Manny Pacquiao has a selection to choose from with guys that are much bigger, much more accomplished, or have a belt. So Liam Paro is not bringing any of those things to the table. But what's interesting is that a lot of guys are noticing now that if Manny Pacquiao is actually back, we now have another guy that's a big money maker in the weight class. And that's very appealing for guys at 147 because 140 is really dry. Teofimo's the biggest name you could say at 140 right now, but he does not sell very well, nor does anybody at 140. So it's a very interesting move there. Liam Paro will be moving up to 140. Very interesting decision. Like I said, if he would have went to 147 immediately after the loss to Richardson Hitchens, I would have understood it. However, he's doing it now. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes from there. Another guy, TAKAMI, plans to move to 112 pounds. Newly minted WBA light flyweight champion Keisuke TAKAMI has stated that he will move up to flyweight next year as 108 pounds is already becoming a struggle to make. He will defend his belt once this year before moving up. Interesting. I talked about it yesterday, how high I am on TAKAMI. I think he is legit. He's the real deal. This is Japan's next star. Already a world champion at 108. Moving to 112 could very well do it there again. It'll be interesting to see how that transition goes. Excited to see him defend his belt, but that is huge news coming out of Japan there. The last thing I want to go into is something that I did discuss on yesterday's show, but I want to wrap up today's show talking about it again. The report was this, that Bob Arum tells The Ring he would like to see Xander Zayas welcome Jaron Boots Ennis to the super welterweight division. Now, here's what's interesting about this decision here. Very rarely in boxing do we get this type of fight this early on. It's very rare. If we go back multiple generations ago, sure, that was a possibility. But in today's generation, these type of fights don't happen. And it makes sense. You have a business decision. You have to build things up the right way, especially Top Rank, who is the best at building fighters up in terms of just building it up slowly but surely and getting themselves into title contention and then possibly becoming world champions. That's what they did with Xander Zayas. He is a world champion. He's an excellent fighter, but I don't think Jaron Boots Ennis is a fight to make right now. Don't get me wrong, I would be entertained by that fight. Boots Ennis going for a world title immediately would be shocking and really impressive, especially with all the talk about him needing a tune-up fight or two. Him going for that fight immediately would be very shocking, but also for Xander Zayas. because we heard right after the fight that he would be considering going down to Puerto Rico or fighting at his home country. And I don't think Boots Ennis will be fighting out there. So it makes you wonder, how would this fight come to be? I think Xander Zayas would defend his belt one time, then possibly go forth and do a fight with another guy like Jaron Boots Ennis, a unification with Fundora, something along those lines. And I still don't feel like a Boots Ennis fight makes a lot of sense. I feel like it's a fight that I'd like to see, but it could brew a little bit longer. If it does happen, as I said, there will be no complaints out of this mouth of mine, because that would still be a great fight to make. So we'll see what ends up unfolding there. Not sure how it will unfold, but it is interesting because Xander Zayas, Boots Ennis would be a fine fight to make right now. I just feel like it would make a little bit more sense in the future because I don't feel like Xander Zayas is ready for that fight. I also feel like Boots Ennis could go another route, possibly do one tune-up at least, and then make this fight happen in the future. I just feel like the most realistic one right now is Fundora and Xander Zayas, or more simple title defense for Zayas. But him going it right for Virgil Ortiz or Boots Ennis would be a bold move and a very risky move. With that being said, though, I appreciate you guys all for tuning in to today's show. I don't see any comments in the chat right now. If there are anything, make sure to always leave them in the chat, and I will address them as I go throughout the show. With that being said, I hope you guys have a blessed rest of you guys this Thursday. May God bless you guys all. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will be back live tomorrow to preview this weekend's fight cards, give you guys some boxing news, and everything tomorrow. I'll announce what time that's going to be later on. But have a great rest of you guys Thursday. May God bless you guys all, and I will see you guys back live tomorrow on Friday. See you guys later. SchuZ out. God bless you guys.